Hello, so we finally have a new trailer for the DLC and a trailer announcement date. The DLC will be releasing soon, but we have some good news and some bad news, and I don't know. I want to make it a bigger discussion, but I just don't want to waste people's time, and so I'll keep it very, very short. So what do you know about the DLC? Well, we actually know a lot of information because some of the gaming sites publish more information than the trailer gives us. What can you expect in the Forgotten Kingdom? New storyline, of course, new dungeons, new area based in the world of Yaesha, sadly. We'll speak about this a bit later. So we'll have a new storyline about Yaesha's lost tribe, a mysterious lost tribe, and a vengeful stone spirit. The stone spirit is called Lidusa, and her living stone construct. As you can see, like you didn't have enough stone or Yaesha enemies so far. We also have a new archetype, the Invoker. It seems like it will be, I don't know, it sounds like it will be based on defense on attack as well. But nothing is really known about it right now. Just that it's a magical class, it uses magic, and it relies on the power of the jungle. Probably. Many items and powerful weapons. I don't know about that. I mean, how stronger can you get? How much stronger can you get in this game? Because you already have a lot of them. I'm more interested in if they will be unique or not. You can already see some of them. One of them is a crossbow, which was never really something I enjoyed because it will need a very, very strong skill to make it worthwhile because the other weapons are just so powerful and overwhelming. You also have the spear, which is a new weapon. I think we also have something like a hammer with lightning. And yeah, the amulets and the rings will probably make all of the difference. Probably it will be a more elemental based build that you can do with the stuff you get from the DLC. Also, they say new bosses, but it's going to be probably just two elites that are made as bosses. They're just made bigger and changed a little bit, and probably only have one new boss. Probably that one that you see in the trailer. And that's kind of it. We'll receive more information a bit later, but as you can see, I'm already not really thrilled by all of this stuff because what they're really adding to the game is less than 5% of the content of a biome. While yeah, the archetype and the new boss might seem like big additions, just think about it. How many bosses do we have currently in the game? Well, you don't have that many, but you have at least 3 per biome. So you have 9 bosses, but you already have one DLC, so let's just say you have 10 bosses at least, 10 unique bosses at least. Because I'm not really counting the other ones. If you count the other ones, you'll probably have 30 bosses or something like that. So 1 or 3 more will be about 10%, let's say 10% new bosses. Weapons, oh man, probably is going to be like 5% new weapons, armors, 5% new armor, invoker, archetype is going to probably be, let's just say 10% more. So again, you're just going to pay a lot of money for what accumulates to basically 5% or 10% of extra content for the game, but that is actually so diluted that it's 10% of an existing biome. It's not even a new biome. So I am not sure if it's worth it. I don't like this DLC policy. You know why? Because let's see what they had as a DLC in Remnant from the Ashes, in Remnant 1. So in Remnant 1 as a DLC for, I think it was 10 euros. It might have been, no, it's 10 euros right now, but I think it was 15 euros when they released the DLCs. And I was okay with it, because the first DLC introduced was Sons of Corsus, and they actually added a lot of stuff. I hate that. I'm just looking at it. And you know what? They introduced a new area, the Iskal Rise, and I think they introduced the Iskal Queen as a boss fight and some other areas. Yeah, they introduced new areas, new items, new armors, all of the stuff you already had, but you also got a new game mode. You got a survival game mode for the price of the DLC. So you basically got whatever is in the newer DLCs right now. But you also got a completely new game mode, and you also got a huge rebalance of the game, if I remember correctly. So that was a massive one. And again, they had free updates that gave us more content. If you remember, you had as a free update the Leto armor, the Leto lab. And you also had, I think, the butcher stuff, the alternative I don't know, you just had a lot of extra content that was for free in Remnant 1. And that probably is more or less like a DLC in this game. And the second DLC, you know what it was? It was the World of Raysum, Subject 2923, 2923. And you know what that DLC had? It had a completely new biome with completely new enemies, bosses, gear, and it's a completely new world. But you also had the beginning area of the swamp, which was kind of like playing Hunt. of the area of Earth, where you actually entered through the portal, plus all of the new stuff. So it was a massive update to the game because it actually introduced more of the content we wanted. You also had 4 biomes. In this one you only have 3, and it's arguable that you only have 2 because Yesha was being used so many times that it's becoming a bit annoying to go back to Yesha, go back to Yesha. I don't know. We have visited, let's think about it. You have visited Yesha so many times, you had it in all of the games. So Yesha is basically in the first game, which is Chronos, the second game, Remnant 1, this one, Remnant 2. Plus, you also had a lot of, anyway, the best weapons, the best armors, the best traits, skills, whatever, were in Yesha. So Yesha has been farmed to death. Also, Yesha has some of the most obscure puzzles in the game. Yeah, remember the eclipse mechanic? Remember the puzzles where you actually take a picture with your phone, so you have to introduce the puzzle to somewhere else where you have to look at the... I think you have to look at the cloths on the pan, on the tombs of the pan to make the puzzle, and that weird invisible pathway that you... I don't know. It had so many weird things, plus the song. The song, you cannot solve the song puzzle unless you read a guide, and you have 2 song puzzles. Then you also had the most deaths in Yesha. Why did you die the most times in Yesha? Well, because Yesha had a lot of instant death traps. For example, some of the places like the labyrinth where you get crushed by the stones, you also had the buzz saws. I don't know. I think in Yesha I had 100 times more deaths than in the other biomes, just because it was so weird. So weird with all of its stuff. Plus you could also fall to your death. I don't know. It's the biome I enjoyed the least. Now there are people who loved Yesha, and I guess it's okay. It's not such a bad biome. It had interesting stuff, but they probably just like Yesha because it had the best stuff, the best loot, the best stuff. Again, I'm just saying the same things over and over, so I am trying to make a point over here, and it's really weird that I'm trying to make a point. The extra content should be nice for the game, and I would have preferred to pay 20 euros, 25 euros for a full biome expansion. Remember that the developer said you'll receive free DLCs if you buy the Extortion Edition, or I think you can also buy the DLC bundle for 25 euros, but they never mentioned what the DLCs were. Because if I'm just doing videos for YouTube, but if I didn't do videos for YouTube, I wouldn't have bought the DLCs because they're not worth it. What you get for the DLCs is not enough to justify the price considering what you got as a DLC in Remnant 1. Plus, it's just more of the same stuff. They're not really releasing a lot of content. The only reason you will buy the DLC right now is because you get a new archetype, which you need to level up, which you need to get the gear, which you need to level up the gear as well, which is just going to be another grind. So yeah, I don't think it's worth it to buy the DLCs if they offer this little content, and it's clear that they changed some of the gameplay system just to sell the DLCs, because if the DLC didn't have a new archetype, would you buy it? Think about it. And that's the main thing I'm a little bit upset about right now, because they're not really giving you much with the DLCs. I would have preferred it they would have made one DLC for 25 euros or even for 30 euros. I don't care. That's a personal preference, but they should have added a new biome with all of the new stuff and make it have more content, because you're just replaying the same... It feels like I'm playing Diablo, to be honest. It feels like I'm playing Diablo. I'm playing the same 3 worlds over and over to get the new items, because remember, the previous DLC, the Forgotten King or whatever, also introduced items that would spawn in other biomes. So I had to play Nerud a lot of times, I had to play Yesh a lot of times, in addition to playing Lossom a lot of times as well. So that means you'll be replaying every DLC you buy, you'll be replaying the game a lot of times, over and over, for very, very, very small amounts of extra stuff. So yeah, probably I ramble too much, but I cannot say I'm very excited about this DLC. I cannot say I'm excited about the next DLC either, because it will just be the same model, the same business model. So they can make even 20 DLCs like this, where they just sell you an archetype, and they sell you a new boss, and they sell you whatever. But it's not really changing the way you play the game, it's not really changing anything in a meaningful way, it's not changing the way you progress throughout the game. There's no reason to make, let's say, a new character, unless you want to play in the hardcore mode. There's no reason to really play the game in the DLCs, because you'll just be getting more of the same stuff, and it's very hard to keep track of it as well, because in Remnant 2 they introduced redundant items, meaning you'll just have items that are, or let's say rings or amulets that are just straight up better than one of the other ones. So for example, you have a ring that gives, let's say, 5% damage, and then you have a ring that gives 7% damage. Of course, you'll never use that one. And even though they introduced the loadouts, it's still kind of annoying that you have to sieve or shuffle or whatever. I cannot think of the word right now. You still have to go through so much of your gear just to make a decent build, just because of the way the game works. So all of the builds are already in the game, you don't need anything else. If they introduce a new weapon, you'll have to think very, very hard on how to make it viable, because you have at least 20, well, not 20 builds. I think the game has about 5 builds that are very strong and that everyone plays them, and then they're just repeating or changing small details to the builds themselves, and that's about it. You mostly have about 5 builds in the game. Most people only use 3 guns anyway. Most people don't really do melee builds because they're not really good or fun or viable. So I guess I'm just disappointed that the DLC turned out this way. I mean, the DLC is also late, the DLC is also disappointing. It's just not enough, in my opinion, to justify buying the DLC, considering how much of a time investment it will be. So it's crazy that you buy this DLC for 10 euros, the DLC itself is 1 hour of extra content, and then you'll be spending another 40 hours just to get a few items here and there. And you'll be lucky if you spend 40 hours getting all of the items, because it usually can take even 100 hours to get all of the items. I am not joking, think about it. To get all of the items in Remnant 2, after the DLC, The Forgotten King, I think I spent about 40 hours just wandering through the deserts of Nerud, trying to find that extra ring, trying to find that extra amulet. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one to sell, because they should just make a way to, I don't know. I think the Remnant series of games is the game series that I actually commented on the most, and I was right a lot of times, I was also wrong a lot of times, but I think in the end, the developers just don't listen to the good feedback they receive, and they just listen to the bad feedback they receive. And they also heavily test everything they release, and it's so buggy lately. I mean, comparing Remnant 2 release date with all of its bugs, with all of its problems, and every update they introduced into the game added more bugs, more glitches, more problems, and also they broke so many classes so many times I cannot even count that. So even if they release the DLC, it will need heavy patching, because I don't know what's happening at the studio, but every time they release a patch, they need to release another patch to fix what they broke. So, I don't know, I wish all of the good luck for the developers. Yeah, it's an interesting game series, it's an interesting mechanic. They have done a lot of good things for the game, and I don't know, I'm just disappointed that they took this pathway that other studios take, and it's not going to be that interesting anymore, for me at least. Because it's a chore. You're basically going to be spending 10 euros, so you waste 40 hours of your time, and then you might not even enjoy the builds you end up with, because that's the major problem. You have let's say you'll have 3 new weapons. I expect at least 3 new weapons, but probably we'll get 2 secondary weapons, 2 main weapons, and a melee weapon, or 2 melee weapons. I don't know. It seems like that would be the best way to do it, judging from what they did so far. But then you'll end up with the R-type you don't like. The armor set you cannot use because it's not really suited for your playstyle, or you just replace pieces of it and you'll make a Frankenstein armor set just to get into the weight limit. And then the R-type will not really be that good, maybe with R-types you already like to play. And then you will not really like the new weapons. Probably the crossbow is harder to use than the other ones, like automatic weapons. I don't know, it's a lot of money to pay for something you will not enjoy in the end, and I guess that's a major problem of the game. They're just not releasing meaningful DLCs, and they took a very, very long time to actually fix their game after release. I don't mind that they fixed the game so late, but I am actually upset that the game has so little content. Comparing Remnant 1 to Remnant 2 is massive. The massive downsize of the game. Think about it, so Remnant 1 had Earth, Rome, the desert planet, Corsus, Asia. That's 4 planets. And 5 with Rayson, so it had 5 biomes. Remnant 2 has only 3 biomes. And think of all of the items you got, and all of, I don't know, I'll have to make I'll try to make a video, but it will be a lot of work where I compare the two games and you can see that a lot clearer. I guess it's just there's no way to express my disappointment except just continuing to cover the game because I feel like I should do that as well because it was a nice game series and I don't know. Just feels annoying that all of the things you like are just destroyed by people in suits. Probably most of the decisions were made by people who didn't really like the game. They just wanted bigger numbers. And yeah, from a business point of view, the DLCs are a very good investment for the company, but a very good investment for the company usually means it's a very bad investment for the player. So yeah. Anyway, people will love it if they play it in co-op and if they play it in short bursts. But as for me, who I'm a collector, I like to collect all of the stuff. It will be almost impossible to collect everything in this DLC because I think I'm still missing a few items from the other DLCs, but I just didn't have the willpower left in me to go to the same world for the 1 million time because I played all of the biomes at least 500 times and I'm not joking. I walked and killed enemies in the same biomes for at least 500 times for each biome. And I don't have that much game time anyway, but believe me, the game time was just basically running through the maps, seeing if I got that, and that's it.